difficulties, but thank you for bearing with us. And if that's the only problem I got today, I'm
We're good. We're good.
Better late than never.
So we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much. We're tracking 2,000 plus views a week, so that's huge in the short amount of time that we've been doing this.
How long have you been doing this?
This podcast, we launched it this year.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. First part of the year.
So today we have Priscilla with Select Title.
Thank you, Richard.
We have Gill with Gill Aerial Photography. So he's got all kinds of great stuff to talk about and just give different perspectives of what's going on in the Katy, Fulshear, Richmond area.
This is a very active area. There's a lot of activity going on. I'm amazed. We've got people moving in from all over. You can't just say from one market. All over for lots of reasons.
It's an international city.
It really is. It really is. And this is a friendly city now. Me, I'm a native Texan, so I've been here all my life. But I've been in Katy about 40 years. And when we moved to Houston back in about 67, they were still working on Katy Freeway.
Yes, sir.
And we still had the Katy Freeway, the railroad tracks that went the MKT.
Yeah.
And to see all that now that's gone and the changes that have occurred is
Missouri, Kansas, Texas is what that stands for.
That's right. For people who don't know.
Wow. I know. When I moved out here, we still had cows around the neighborhood.
People used to come to Katy because they went there to hunt.
Yeah.
It was all rice fields out
The
there.
duck and goose hunting capital of the nation.
Oh,
It was.
yeah.
You could hear geese every night.
Well, that's why we have them in Katy. It has all the geese on the
Yep.
Welcome to Katy.
The Russ elevators, which are dilapidated today, but Uncle Ben's rice came from Katy, Texas.
Yep.
Did it really?
People don't know that either.
Uncle Ben's used to have a facility over there about Senate and Westheimer in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
They did a lot of testing over there. And now,
That's cool.
I remember back when they were building off the Senate, Melcourt Homes up there built quite a few townhouses.
Yes.
And beautiful area.
I remember our first home we moved into was off the Senate, and Texas, I can't remember, Texas something was the name of the builder. And that house had been sitting there, whoever had bought it never moved into it. And in like a year and a half, it had been just sitting, so we were the first ones to live in it.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And it
Was
was
that
$600 a month.
The oil bust, is that what, that time frame? Because there was a lot of neighborhoods
Yeah.
In
that
the
sat
early
half-
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
half empty, that's correct.
Yeah.
There were mud districts.
Texas Contemporary was the builder.
I've never heard of that.
Melcourt Homes, Reggie was the guy that I worked with.
Wow.
He was super neat. He was from Canada.
Wow.
The stories he would tell. It's interesting, the history of people we know that are gone.
Yes,
Even
sir.
the model parks. They're building model parks now, but the model parks that are being built now are not like the model parks we had back then. I mean, you have 5 homes. In fact, the model park up north, which is now the what's the furniture company?
Gallery.
Gallery Furniture. That was where he got his start. He bought that model park, which was Superior Homes. And that's how they got their start.
Wow. And all the home builders used to build all their different specs.
Yes.
So you could walk through them
Right.
Yep.
and see all the specs in that community.
Yep.
And it wasn't just one spec like it is nowadays.
They would build 5 homes. We did a lot of architectural embellishments back then, and they would do some incredible work on the outside. With driveway, they do all the rest of the concrete.
Right.
And then the landscaping, out of 5 houses, you might have 3 of them in pools. And very elaborate. And 3
Oh,
pools, a hot
wow.
tub, a spa.
There's no pool before sale today.
No, if there's a pool, it's virtual.
So were you an architect at that time?
No, a
Is that
lifetime,
where you're coming
a
from?
lifetime ago, I was in construction.
Okay.
So I did architectural embellishments. Then I got into computers, or computers found me.
Right.
And then I did that for a long time, computer IT work. And then because of that, I had a lot of people that said, Gill, you need to be showing this to more people. You need to be putting this on video. I didn't have time. So then when I did have time, I got into video production. Did that for about 8 years. And then I got to looking up my game, and I wanted to add to my production capabilities. So then I got into aerials. And aerials have taken on a life of their own.
Okay, so when you think of aerials and production, how does that come together?
Well, for example, like this production, this is one camera. I have done production where I have a video switch, Light Magic video switch with 6 cameras and 4 computers. And from that one computer, then I can sit, change the screens to do overlays, lower thirds, graphics. I can do it live or I can do it pre-recorded. The advantage of live is once you put that video out there, it's there.
Right.
Now, when you
Mistakes and all.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've done that a few times.
everything. So when you have something that you're doing as a product on a video switch where you do all that production capability and all those values, if you do it live, it goes out like a news feed, because I'm also a YouTube SEO specialist. And I used to do websites a lifetime ago because of the computer IT work. And I thought that was interesting. But then when I got into doing YouTube SEO, because I wanted to understand the formula, blew my mind. There is so much more you can do with a YouTube video, because anything on YouTube lives in perpetuity.
It's like a commercial that never turns off.
Pretty much.
Correct.
And it's amazing the people that say, oh, I'm going to put a video and everybody's going to watch it. It doesn't work that way. It's always research before record.
Yes.
Because you want to make sure that you target your niche to deliver what people want, what people are searching for. And people say, well, what matters most in a video that goes on YouTube? Everything matters. It's the content. You deliver on the promise of whatever you're going to say. For example, the first 6 seconds, you don't do blah, blah, blah. This is what we're going to do.
Right.
This is what we're about. And then you deliver on that. Then
Right.
if you have a call to action, you do that at the end. But you give people what they want. And then the other things that you want to talk about, then you can deliver that as you gain more audience.
Okay.
It's all about exposure. And of course,
Yeah.
your thumbnail matters. Then you got to do your listing of information,
Wow.
catalog that video.
Yes.
And if you do everything right, YouTube doesn't know a content creator until you've got about 50 videos. They don't know who you are. And YouTube is always looking for videos for viewers. A lot of people think it's
And you have to have X amount of watch time with it as well.
You gotta have
The
it.
more watch time that you get, the more they like you.
Yep.
Okay, so does the YouTube affect the Google
Yes.
Yes,
SEOs
because
and all that?
they're one and the same.
Who's the
Okay.
largest search engine?
Google.
Who's the second largest?
YouTube.
Exactly.
YouTube's not just something to go watch cats playing. People use that to research
To
information.
search.
It's
Well, I do that if I need to figure out how to work something, but I don't. But do you YouTube search in that just normal things like you would Google?
You can.
On
Because
how to fix a garage door, or
there's a lot of things.
there's a lot of things that
Wow.
As you look for information on Google, a lot of times you will see information catalog that shows whatever those YouTube videos are.
Yes, you're right.
And
You're
so
right.
you can go back and forth with the information.
Okay. All
And
right.
It's a wonderful resource learning tool. And a
So-
lot of statistics.
So I'm assuming you've got a bunch of YouTube.
Well, it's interesting.
With
Since
all
I'm
your
doing
aerials.
I don't have anything on YouTube for aerials right now because all of my YouTube was based on my computer work that I did. I've got a YouTube channel, Build or Buy, about how to build and buy a computer that's focused on the niche of how to create a content creation computer. So I go through chipsets and stuff like that on that.
Okay.
I've got almost 12,000 subscribers on that channel.
wow, that's
that,
huge.
That has nothing to do with what I do now with aerials. Like I said, this has taken on a life of its own. Some people are saying, Gill, when are you going to put out another video? Well,
Mhm.
I'm working on videos, but not
Mhm.
videos you guys are going to see because I'm doing
Right.
stuff now with businesses and with realtors. And I'll get back to that and talk about things like DDR5 and some of the different aspects of
Look at
chipsets.
this.
Yep.
Oh,
The
it's
farms-
beautiful.
The farthest away project I had been, I consulted on a project in Oregon for a lavender farm. I'd never heard of such. Now, they wanted
Lavender as in flowers?
lavender as in
Okay.
flowers. I'd never heard of such. So they wanted to fly me up there for what they needed, but based on the address, because of longitude and latitude, I can do all the research here that's necessary. And because I'm a member of Sky Network, I was able to find them a pilot within about an hour of where they are, and he now has a client for that lavender farm.
Oh, wow.
And I had a call from Colorado last night, another pilot, asking
So
questions.
are they using helicopters or airplanes when you're saying pilot?
Well, you can use, and that's what we historically had to have, was a helicopter. But we can do things now with a drone that were impossible with a helicopter.
Wow. Look at that.
Well, I remember years ago that if you wanted an aerial photograph, you had to hire an airplane pilot
Yep,
that
yep.
would fly up and
Yep.
shoot the pictures.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
There was a warehouse many years ago when we were looking at out in Katy, and the aerial photo we had was from an airplane. But now, the things I can do with a drone where I can get in really close,
Yeah.
it elevates and changes your perspective. For example, some people look at a blueprint and all they see is a flat piece of paper.
Right.
You say this is an elevation and they still only see a flat piece of paper.
Right.
But if you can show them a picture and you look at that picture head on, And then when you change that perspective, it's almost like using a tilt shift lens, because a drone is like a camera on stilts. Once you get that camera up and you see that perspective, you can see, wow, I can see the roof line, I can see the front, but I can see what's going on in the back.
Right.
And if you've got a property that has amenities, oh, totally changes the perspective.
Right.
I went to a realtors meeting the other day, and one realtor commented and says, so if I hire you, then I can tell the client, if they hire me, then I get this. I said, absolutely. I said, I'm your secret weapon. And that's what it's all about.
Sure.
Elevating your perspective.
Yes. Oh, that's so important.
And I love doing that because adding value. Now, historically, you got on MLS like 40 photographs, but with HAR, you can do a whole lot more. And you really got three things you can do. One, you do your photographs, and with
they allow up to 50 photographs is the number there.
It's 50.
It's 50.
With those 50 photographs, then you want to have some aerials in there. But you got your photographs, your aerials, and then you've also got your 360. I was visiting with an attorney recently. He just got married, has a new wife and a stepdaughter. And what I interviewed, because I love to go to open houses and ask realtors, but I want to talk to the homeowners. What are you looking for? What do you like? And the attorney said, I want to be able to look at the property, but I want that 360 so I can walk through the house. I don't want somebody just walking me through the house. I want to walk through the house. I want to see what's in the kitchen. I want to see what's in the bedroom. I want to see what's in the bathroom.
So it's like a Matterport type setup?
A Matterport type, but there's something else. I've been research because it's what I do a lot of.
Sure.
I've been doing research on all the different aspects. There's new things coming online all the time. I like iGuide. I think it's a better program because it's a faster program. It's more, you're actually doing three things at once. You're photographing the product. You're looking at, with LiDAR, the ability to capture. Probably takes longer to set it up than it does to actually shoot it. But you will have photographs, you'll have your 360, and you will have a PDF blueprint that you can look at that property. And you can walk all through there and see everything.
So you're not doing the inside on with a drone, you're doing that with a regular camera.
Right.
Okay.
Everything, you can do some stuff inside of the drone. That's not my deal. I don't do first person view. Everything I do outside, which I specialize in the areas, but I can also do the inside.
Okay.
If somebody wants.
Okay. Plus you're also doing businesses I see in here.
Yes. I always like to, for example, I've been looking at some restaurants that have been wanting to hire some photographers. One restaurant I looked at in the area that's an Italian restaurant, I looked at what they wanted and I thought, no, that's not somebody I'm going to work with. There was another restaurant that was looking for a photographer. I went and checked them out to see what they've got, and they don't need a food photographer because they've got customers that take gorgeous pictures. But when you look at the place where they're at, they're off of Washington, it's like, well, this is kind of ratty looking. I don't know if I want to go there. And I thought, I can take pictures of that areas and elevate the perspective so you can look down inside and see what they've got in their garden area. And it's like, wow, this place.
Yeah.
It's a hidden gem.
It's a hidden
Right.
gem. It absolutely is.
And there's so many of those in
There's
town
a lot
that
of
you don't realize when you're driving by that.
Our freedom of choice in the Houston area with restaurants is unbelievable.
Think
But
about
don't
this.
you think it's the same in houses though too?
True.
You know, you may be taking somebody to see a house. They look at the front and they're like, I don't know.
I launched
But
a
they
listing
come in
last
and
night, and I sent it over to Denise. She's making flyers for the open house this weekend.
right.
And she's like, I don't really know about that one. And I'm like, click on the pictures, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. So exactly what you were just saying.
Yeah. So it's huge
Yes.
in not just that first impression.
Right? Yeah, first impression is everything. If you can elevate that perspective, like to reiterate, if there's amenities and you can see that in that first picture and that catches your eye, it draws you in. They always say that like kitchens and bathrooms sell a house, but a house has to have the right feel.
Yeah.
Somebody walks into a house.
Agreed.
If it doesn't have that feel, they can't feel that they see
It
themselves
has to
living.
have warmth to it. There's
Yes.
some homes, and I
Yes.
walk in and out of houses all day, every day. They're just cold feeling.
Yeah.
They are.
And then it's a question of, okay, you're looking at a property, does it have good bones?
Mm-hmm.
If it's got good bones, all that other stuff, anything can be fixed.
Paint and caulk for the most part.
Putty and paint, like a boat. Putty and paint will make
So
one name.
all these years, okay, so you walk in and it doesn't have that good feeling. What do you think could help make them
If it's a good location, and if it's got good bones, then you want to either bring in like an architect to give you some ideas, or an interior designer to say, hey, what do you think about this space?
Yeah.
A lot of times, just changing a few walls. Now, it depends if they're load bearing or not.
It depends.
But there's some homes that you walk into and they're just claustrophobic feeling.
Yep.
And if you could just do a couple minor changes,
Yep.
it'll change the whole dynamic of the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you look at an older home that was built like in maybe the 50s or 60s.
Right.
The design that we
Bungalows.
had, right.
Mhm.
And then if you look at some of the newer homes, some of the newer homes are much more difficult to restructure because of the truss systems they use. Whereas an older home is easier to restructure even if it's got load-bearing walls. I used to do a lot of that stuff.
Interesting.
Sometimes you can take a load-bearing wall, depending on if it's a one-story,
Yeah.
and you can put that load beam up in the attic and support a span.
Across,
Right.
yeah, so
And
that it doesn't have to come down into
That's
the
right.
room.
So that way
Okay.
you've got that full open ceiling.
Which I'm sure they are doing a bunch of those, I mean, a bunch of the houses in Westview and the Heights and
Yeah.
all that. You know, that's how a lot of that's being reworked and opened up and,
Or they just raise the house. I see that too. They buy it just for the location and they build
Yeah.
a brand new house there to that.
Yeah. Because a lot of those homes on those lots were oversized lots.
oh,
And a lot of the
yes.
lots now have shrunk. Now, there's a project going on toward Eagle Lake where they're building some new homes,
Yeah,
and they're opening up a second area out there where those homes are going to be on larger lots.
I drove by that last night.
Really?
Yes,
First
Yes.
American Homes.
yes.
Yes. Hernan Vidal's
I
Gill
sure
right there.
did.
It's a beautiful area.
It is a gorgeous area, because I went to Eagle Lake last night.
Wow.
And I had not driven that, you know, I usually go I-10 and,
Sure.
and over that way.
Sure.
I went 1093 back that
Get the back roads.
direction,
Isn't
and
it
it
much
was
more peaceful?
beautiful.
Yeah, it's
I
beautiful.
hadn't been back that direction in a long time.
Well, I know the first time I went out to Brookshire, I was going out to Buc-ee's and I was cutting through to Fulshear. I thought, because I got a project here I needed to look at.
Yeah.
I hadn't been out there in 30 years.
Huh.
That was 6 months ago. Blew my
Go
mind.
out there now and it looks totally different again.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. 10
Yes.
different subdivisions with all the infrastructure, the homes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, like we did a charity event at the polo field
Ah,
out there,
Yeah.
and now the subdivision is the polo
Polo Ranch.
ranch, but there's no polo field anymore.
Yeah.
oh, that's
Right.
a shame. That's another opportunity. Some of the communities that have golf courses, that's something else I can do with areas. Either just photographing it so they can get an idea of where the layout of the course is, or we can also do aerials with something like LiDAR or special cameras that let us see where the fertilizer's at, where it's being too much water with the different colors. So then you get an idea of what they need to do to,
So it's similar to like an infrared, just
Yes.
to dumb it down for the.
like the infrared or LiDAR,
Wow.
depending on what they want to see. A lot of capabilities.
And this
now.
is on your drone?
You can do that with a drone, yes.
Wow, that's
Now,
amazing.
That kind of drone would be a larger drone because of the payload it has to carry.
Okay,
With the drones that I use most of the time, I have a small drone that's big enough to get the photograph I need, but small enough to get me the areas. It gets tight sometimes because when I look at a space, I've got a dozen different pieces of information I check. So I'm looking at power lines, I'm looking at trees, I'm concerned about that, but I'm looking at airspace, for example, out here toward, again, to reiterate, toward Brookshire,
mm-hmm,
like Firethorn, I've got a pool out there to do, but I'm waiting on the weather. But this particular property where the pool is at, I'm in some unusual airspace where I have to be careful what I do, because if I go a foot this way, I can't. If I go a foot this way, I'm good for 200 feet, and if I go a foot this way, I'm good for 100 feet. So I have to be careful and watch those rules to get the results that I want.
right.
And you also have to have a license to fly drones?
Yes, I keep my pilot's license with me all the time. I'm 107 certified, and I'm also recurrent certified, so I can do twilight photos, of which
And there is areas that are no-fly zones.
there are no fly zones. I had a project that I was looking at in Corpus that was right under the shelf of a DOD no-fly zone, and I'm thinking, nah, that ain't gonna work.
So what, do you have to go into a program to look and see when you're looking at the different areas and it
Yes.
shows you whether or not,
I've got different maps. I've got applications, probably 3 or 4 different maps I look at, not only like on Google, but Google Earth,
yeah,
and also the GIS maps from the FAA. Those are the most complete maps that I look at. and it gives me the grids, not only the circles, but also rectangles. It says, in this rectangle, right here's the line, you can see right down to a pixel where you can and can't
So
do.
in Katy, are there any no-fly areas?
We've got some areas you have to be cautious of, but the most prevalent would be the executive Houston Airport out at Brookshire.
Okay.
And it covers a large area, very large area. And any realtor, if they're gonna have someone do aerials, they wanna make sure that pilot is certified. And wanna make sure that pilot follows the rules. Because I'm a member of Sky Network, I recommend not necessarily hire me, but hire a pilot from Sky Network.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
we have pilots all over. Wonderful bunch of people I've met.
Wow. Plus you're sharing information, learning
Yes.
from each other,
Yes.
doing all that fun
Yes.
stuff.
So you're collaborating.
Yeah.
Like,
awesome.
Yes.
like the project I did in Oregon and the project I helped with last night in Colorado. It's
Wait, last night in Colorado, you just got back?
No, I was on the phone.
Oh, okay, okay, all right. I was like, man, okay.
So I wherever I'm needed. And I've had realtors ask me, where do you go? I said, well, I can keep it in Texas, but if you've got a property you need some help with, give me the address, I'll take a look at it and tell you what we need to do.
Sure.
That's cool. So you can refer too.
Yes. Well, like this morning when we were setting this up, 2 weeks ago, my schedule has changed 4 times because I was supposed to be in 4 different places. Atascocita was the original. That changed because there's a lagoon out there I'm supposed to photograph. But
Is
they're
that a
not.
Tejas development? Because they're known for doing lagoons, that's why I'm
Right.
asking.
It's a homeowner.
Oh, it's a homeowner.
It's a
Oh, wow.
homeowner that built a pool as a lagoon,
Okay.
but after he did it, his mortgage went up. Now he can't afford the house. So the realtor said he's got to sell it, but he's got to clean it up before we photograph. So that's rescheduled for a couple weeks from now, and I'm excited to do that. Then I was going to go out to, I believe it's called Granada,
Mm-hmm.
Granada, Texas. I've got a
Where's
beautiful south of here.
Okay.
Southwest.
Okay.
I've got a pool out there to shoot, but the weather's not cooperating to do the twilight that they want at nighttime. So mornings are great. Mornings have been great. So I'm waiting for that because it's about an hour and a half to drive out there.
Right.
And I'll sit there for an hour and watch, and I can also have an application that shows me where the sun is at a particular time of day, so I get in the right place, the right photo at the right time, and I'll have about 15 minutes to hit it. If I miss it, then I got to come back and do it again,
Ooh.
which I'm willing to do because they first asked, the pool company said, "Where do you not go?" I said, "Well, anywhere you build a pool, you give me the address, and we'll go take a look. And if it's too far, I can find a pilot.
Right.
But
Oh.
if they can go build it, I can go shoot it."
But I mean, that's just like your business. I mean, you do the same thing. If it's not in
You go where you need.
Houston or whatever, you have a referral base that you can work with to refer out.
So they call them ecosystem.
Right.
That's right.
Right. And that's important.
Huge. Well, you're part of the ecosystem.
Yes.
You're part of the ecosystem.
Yes.
Right.
So when people meet me, I'm typically where it all begins, but there's an army of people behind me that they don't see, but they have complete access to,
Mhm.
that have been fully vetted and
Yeah.
worked with for years.
And I believe I referred somebody to call you yesterday that needed some information on one of those ecosystems that you've got.
Yeah.
So what a blessing that is.
Well, and it's a good point you make because realtors work hard for what they do. They work for the clients, and people need to realize that.
Mhm.
I had another project, somebody in New York, because I put a thing up on Facebook about a new company that's now doing what was big 40 years ago, and that is doing the owner financing or assuming the FHA, VA loans. And they were asking about, do I know a realtor in New York? I do not. I'm not there. I can find your pilot, but I don't know a realtor.
Right.
And I said, you need to find someone that'll work for you there that'll do what you want. And they said, oh, this, and this. I said, realtors work hard. If you find one that's not working for you, find one that is.
Mhm.
Because the realtors are the busy ones, that's the one you want. You want someone like Richard that works for you.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
And when we
That
met,
is so true.
well, we met on Facebook, and a little trick I'll tell you about. Whenever a realtor that I'm working with puts up a listing, if I'm going to go visit that listing, then I like to put the information out and I repost that information. Now,
Okay.
on Facebook, they say the average person has about 350 friends. I realize I've got about 150. But still, I put that out to the people that I know because it only takes
Every
one
little bit helps, that's correct.
and you never know because information, I don't think ever follows a straight line. It goes around.
No, it's a web, it casts
That's
out.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you click on it or share it or have communication on it, it re-ups it in the feed as well.
That's right. This Keller Williams meeting I was at, there was a new realtor there who was doing his social media stuff. He said, "Does this look right?" I thought, "You're asking me. I'm here to talk to you about aerials."
But you happen to have some of that background.
But I
Yeah.
know that, so I said,
Yeah.
do your stuff, tell what you're going to have your photo, but you want to be sure and have a call to action at the end of that. So they have something they can click on, otherwise, what's the point of the post?
PR, public relations.
It's part of public relations, it's part of the follow through. Because
Right.
you're there to disseminate information, you want to help them find what they're looking for. Because I love open houses. I like to ask 2 questions to a homeowner. Someone that's looking perspective, what do you like about the property? What do you not like? And then I ask the realtor, what's the one thing you change? It's always something.
Yeah.
There's no
That
perfect
is true.
time.
No,
That is true.
I'd like to use the 85% rule. If it checks 85% of the boxes, that's about as close as you're going to get to a perfect house.
it's right. You know, used to it was always location, but now it's like the location, what school district are you in, what high school do you have for your kids?
With remote working and stuff,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot more variables to it today.
Right.
Because of one of the other issues now is what kind of bandwidth do I have for internet? And that's a big deal.
Oh, wow.
That's something to think about.
That is true.
And another issue that I have come across is City of Houston. If you have a property that you buy that's got a pool, you're fortunate. If you buy a property and you want to put a pool there, you may be out of luck. The reason being because of this issue with runoff. Because the first thing you're going to have to do is accommodate runoff. And I found that out last weekend.
Drainage and retention.
Yeah. Drainage and retention. It's a big deal.
I know it's a big deal, but what does that have to do with putting a pool in my backyard?
You can't because if
Because
you
you're responsible for the amount of water that hits your property. That's your responsibility as a homeowner, and it's engineered or mitigated a certain way.
and the hole you dig has to accommodate that first before you even think about a pool. So if you got a spot that you want to put a pool, you're going to have to deal with that. Now, how's that being done?
Right.
Shake Shack. It has underground.
There's a lot in Katy proper itself that doesn't have a house on it, that if somebody builds, they'll have to do
Yep.
that underneath it.
Well, they'll either have to do it underneath or it has to be exposed.
There's not room to do it.
Then it's going to be underground.
Yeah.
The new VW facility that's going on Katy Freeway, that is gorgeous. Underground. Right in front.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so say you're buying a house and you know that the buyer wants to put a pool in. How do you go about checking all of that information to find out?
Contact a pool company
They'll know.
and give them the property before you go under contract.
And the pool company has that information.
They can find it.
They can find
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Now, you're not gonna have a survey unless it's advertised with one, because that's the other caveat. You need to make sure that the easements, utilities,
Right.
that you can put it back there to begin with.
Right.
That's another issue. Usually with a property that you've got a rear easement, you've got 8 feet on each side.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
got 8 feet
Right.
of easement, 8 feet. You gotta
Right.
stay out of that easement.
Right. Oh, yes.
On the sides,
We know that.
it's
Yeah.
usually 8 feet, but then you've got those that have the
But
zero
there's
lot
nobody
lines.
behind you,
Mhm.
you get the whole easement.
Yep.
Oh, right. Right.
Like if you're
So
on
they-
one of the bayous.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And we know we have to go through some hoops on those surveys sometimes.
And
So.
don't put the pool within the easement, because that,
Mhm.
you may be okay with it, but when you go to sell it, that is a huge hurdle.
It's a huge hurdle because the lender is not going to
Right.
be okay with it, no matter what.
Now, I'm working with Katy Prairie Pool. Amazing people. They do some beautiful pools, and they'll be aware of stuff like that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it was news to me when I heard it because I'm working with a realtor on a property in Memorial area, and we're talking about another property that I'm going to shoot over off of Woodway, and that's going to be an issue for them.
That's very interesting information.
Yeah.
I did not know about. I really didn't.
That's why I love doing this because there's a lot of information. You pick up bits and pieces, and again, like I said, information doesn't follow a straight line. It goes around.
I
Yeah.
learn something every day, and
Yeah.
I've been practicing real estate a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I told you the other day, we're closing on an easement for a building company to come in and put one of the big signs on the property.
Ah, is it in county or city?
County.
Okay.
And so, new thing for us to close on. When we have not ever done that before. So, you know, but they're gonna be doing it all over Texas, so we can do it all over Texas.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool,
Very cool.
pretty cool.
Well, I mean, I've seen legal descriptions that says in trust. Remember I called you on that?
Oh, yes. And you're like, okay, why is that in the legal description?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Obviously somebody has a trust,
and that's okay,
and that's okay.
but it doesn't need to be in the legal description.
Yes.
It's interesting. I have a friend who has relatives that go all the way back to the time of Sam Houston when this all started, and he had an uncle, I believe, or a great grandperson
Yeah.
who owned the land in River Oaks, all the way to 610 South.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And he's talked about
Didn't
even.
there used to be strawberry fields there years ago?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
I-
I don't see where the Galleria is at. In that area, there used to be strawberry fields.
Really?
I've heard that, but I've never been able
Wow.
to verify it.
I have
Wow.
visited with him about some of the information because his lineage stops with him. He has no heirs. And he's talked about some of the bits and pieces of land that he has because of how everything was broken up, where he has mineral rights. So he gets revenue
Oh,
from those mineral rights.
yeah.
And he said a lot of it's nickel and dime. It's like a piece of something.
I had a phone call this morning for mineral rights on a piece of property that the seller wanted to keep it. And I'm like, you know, I don't know if anything's been recorded on it, but I'll go back and look. And normally if it is, it's in the deed of trust. Not the deed of trust, the warranty deed. And it'll show that seller's keeping mineral rights in the warranty deed.
When I came in, I was asking, I believe Amber,
Amber, yes.
She's amazing.
Mhm.
I asked her if she'd ever been downtown researching books, and she said no, she hadn't had that. I said you need that experience because there's stuff in there with the plats.
Oh,
When a lot of this was deeded to the railroad,
yeah.
and then some of it went to like the forestry farm that was out toward Katy.
Mhm.
And it's amazing reading some of that stuff.
Oh,
In
it
fact,
is.
I
It
met
is.
the guy in Katy who had a lot of that forestry, and he was the last of the lineage. And I knew where he used to live in Nottingham Country, and I met him just before he left. And he got a divorce, and so he had to sell what was left of that. But I'm thinking, here's somebody that I would not have met, but I met by accident
Yeah,
because we were out taking a walk.
yeah.
And it's a good example like tomorrow,
Wow.
this walk in the morning. Tell us about this Alzheimer's.
Yeah, actually, we're going to wrap up real quick. We are doing the Alzheimer's Walk tomorrow. It's
Yes.
at La Centera. If anybody wants to come join our team, we're going to meet at 7:15 on the second story parking garage right behind Trader Joe's. So there's going to be about a half a dozen to a dozen of us meeting there tomorrow to do the walk. We broke our goals. We raised over $1,000. A big shout out and thank you to everybody that helped
Oh, that's
raise
awesome.
money, participate,
Yes.
donate. The walk starts, I think the ceremony starts at 8 or 8:15, and then it's a 2-mile walk. Everything should be wrapped up by 9:30, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So please come on out and support us. Gill, if they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
They can either reach me through you, or they can go to jamesgillboy.com and find me there.
Okay, perfect.
Priscilla, if
Perfect.
they have any title questions or anything, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So the office, 832-356-3235, or you can always send an email to katyteam@select-title.com, and that goes to all of us.
Yep. And if you need any help with real estate or just need friendly advice, please give us a call. Richard Luebeck,
Reach
Redline Realty, 832-957-7987. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys. It's on the very bottom.